welcome, thank you. And I'll start. So I'm Markéta, it's written there. And in my presentation with the name From Ruins to Sustainability, Creative World Making, I will talk about the village Dolní Grunojovice, and we can go. It will move automatically, I hope. So about Dolní Grunojovice and its surroundings, which is in the southern part of the Czech Republic. I will try the transformative interactions of human and non-human inhabitants of this spectacular landscape. The data come from the project Stories of Drought, a collaborative, applied, interdisciplinary research project involving 3 institutions: the Faculty of Humanities in Prague, the Global Change Research Institute of the Czech Academy of Sciences, and the Silva-Teruka Research Institute for Landscape and Ornamental Gardening from the Czech Academy of Sciences. So these are the natural scientists and anthropologists, sociologists and ecologists from the Faculty of Humanities. So this is the village of Dolní Grunojovice. It has approximately 1,700 inhabitants, and it's surrounded by vineyards and fields. On the left side, you can see the Sunny Hill, which looks a little bit like a pyramid, which is part of a natural reserve. And on the right side, there is an underground natural gas storage facility. So this region has always been characterized by 3 distinctive features: dry and warm climate, wine growing, and the regular floods from the river Thaya, which gave rise to large and unique riparian forests stretching southeast from Grunojovice to the border with Austria. And of course, the inhabitants were used to these conditions, and they adapted their living and farming to them. The area has gone through a complicated past. The original name was Untertanowitz, because it's located in the former German South Moravia, part of Sudetenland, with more than 95% of German inhabitants in 1945. After the war, most of the Germans were expelled. Their property was confiscated and redistributed among the newcomers. So the intimate knowledge of the landscape and its management was gone with the Germans. Part of the fields and vineyards was not cultivated and has gradually disappeared. The post-war land reform, starting in 1948, changed the principles of land ownership once again. The farmers' land was expropriated during the 50s and 60s. Collectivized agricultural cooperative was established. Private fields and vineyards were united into large areas. The map shows the results on the right side. In the 60s, the landscape changed even more. Here you can see the Sunny Hill, a perfectly normal hill, until a painstaking farmer decided that it was necessary to build terraces on it to improve conditions for vine growing. So he turned the hill into a kind of pyramid. And what's next? Nové Mlýny reservoirs, built between 1975 and 88 for irrigation, flood protection, and recreation. Due to the construction of the dams, a village called Mušov on the left was flooded, and a large riparian forest was destroyed and replaced partly by the reservoir itself, partly by the fields. Subsequently, the state began to build a large-scale irrigation system. And what you can see on this picture is the biggest underground natural gas storage facility in the Czech Republic, built under Grunojovice in 80s and later. So as you can imagine, the construction of the facility and all the injection and extraction wells also affected the landscape and partly disrupted the irrigation as well as drainage system. 1989, it brings the Velvet Revolution, post-socialist transformation, privatization, destitution. Here in Grunojovice emerged a number of private companies, especially in the agricultural sector, wine growing and winemaking, and services, mainly accommodation. And so here we are in the Anthropocene. All the changes I mentioned have brought, at least at first glance, discontinuity, disruption, ruination, and stress to the landscape, nature, and people. And moreover, at present, South Moravia is among the regions especially engendered by climate change impacts, particularly drought, as you can see. But surely understand the processes I already described as ruination is the result of these interventions, which have not been guided by concerns for nature, the destruction with big D, or shall we rather think about these processes as transformation with both destructive but also creative potential? As I mentioned, some of the vineyards on the hills have disappeared, and they have been replaced by a steppe, which used to be before only on the very tops of hills that could not be cultivated. So biodiversity is increasing. Many unique species are spreading, including tumbleweed, it's on the right, and stick bugs on the left. This step attracts tourists, scientists, environmentalists, and others. Not the masses, but slow tourists who enjoy the tumbleweeds rolling across the steppe, meeting sheep that have never lived before. But now they are. Not only the steppe is flourishing, also the wine industry, together with accommodation, the main business sector in the village. And tourism brings in finances. Increasingly, winemakers are finding it important to work with the landscape in which they grow their vineyards. They also reflect more and more the climate crisis, water shortage, extreme drought, danger for agriculture and landscape as such, new plant diseases, etc. Perhaps they are more sensitive because they know the fragility of the local landscape and its history. And this leads them to cooperation, both among themselves and with other actors, human and non-human as well. The winemakers began to cooperate with local activists, environmentalists, local politicians, scientists, and also fellow citizens. Together, they plant alleys, invent cycling infrastructure, and most importantly, they debate the future of the landscape. But they also take into account and engage in the discussion the tumbleweed, the water, the hills, and their complex ecosystems and the climate. So the collaboration grows, and you can see new friendships, links, and networks. But something more subtle is emerging as well. The willingness to listen to each other, to discuss things, and to cooperate, not only with other humans, but also with the landscape and its non-human inhabitants. So this is the productive collaboration that may have the power to change winds into the side of creative world making. Thank you very much.